The information provided in this video is for educational and entertainment purposes only and does not constitute professional marketing, financial, or legal advice. Content strategy and social media management involve inherent risks, including fluctuations in reach, engagement, and platform algorithm changes. The methods discussed are based on historical trends and individual case studies. They do not suggest a certainty of specific results. Viewers should conduct their own due diligence and consult with a professional advisor before making significant business or financial investments in their social media presence. The social media algorithm does not care about your hard work. It does not care that you stayed up until 2 a.m. editing a reel, and it certainly does not care how much you want to succeed. In fact, historical trends suggest that 90% of creators and small business owners who attempt to post daily will quit within the first 6 months due to total psychological burnout. They are trapped on what is known as the content hamster wheel, a high-stakes cycle of reactive creation where you are constantly one day away from a dead feed. Most people are spending 40 hours a week to produce content that 90% of their followers will never even see. You are likely one of them. You are waking up every morning with the heavy weight of a blank screen, wondering what to say, how to say it, and why it even matters. This reactive state is the single greatest killer of creativity and growth. But what if the entire framework you have been taught about social media consistency is fundamentally flawed? What if you could condense 30 days of high-performance content creation into a single, focused 8-hour window? This is not about working harder. It is about a total shift in cognitive load. Today, we are breaking down the exact systems used by top-tier media agencies to scale brands without losing their minds. This is the Deep Dive Masterclass on planning a month of social media content in one day. The problem you are facing today is decision fatigue. Every time you open your phone to post, you are making hundreds of micro-decisions. What is the hook? What is the caption? Which hashtags are relevant? Should I use this trending audio or that one? By the time you actually hit publish, your brain is exhausted. This exhaustion leads to what we call low-signal content. Low-signal content is filler. It is the post you made just because you felt like you had to post something. Historical data shows that low-signal content actually hurts your long-term reach because it trains the algorithm that your audience is not interested in your output. To fix this, we have to move from a reactive mindset to a proactive system. We are going to treat your social media like a high-production television network rather than a personal diary. Before we can even pick up a camera or open a Notes app, we have to perform a surgical audit of your existing digital footprint. Most creators skip this because it feels like homework, but without an audit, you are just throwing spaghetti at a wall in the dark. You need to look at your professional dashboard and ignore the vanity metrics. Total likes and follower counts are often lagging indicators that do not reflect the health of your brand. Instead, we are looking for the save-to-reach ratio. A save is a high-intent action. It tells the algorithm that your content was so valuable that the user wanted to keep it for later. This is the ultimate gold standard of high-signal content. During this audit phase, you need to categorize your last 30 days of posts into 3 buckets: the outliers, the average performers, and the failures. The outliers are those posts that perform 300% better than your average. We are looking for the common thread. Was it the format? Was it a specific controversial opinion? Was it a technical breakdown? For example, if you are in the fitness niche and you notice that every time you post a video debunking a common myth about protein intake, your engagement spikes, that is a clear signal. You don't need to reinvent the wheel every month. You need to identify the wheels that are already turning and build a faster car around them. Once you have identified your high-signal topics, we move into the concept of content pillars. Think of these as the structural foundations of your brand. A common mistake is trying to talk about everything to everyone. Historical trends in digital marketing show that the most successful accounts are those that own a specific mental real estate in the minds of their audience. You want to be the person who is known for 1 or 2 specific things. For this masterclass, we are going to establish 4 primary pillars. These pillars allow you to batch your thinking. When you sit down for your one-day planning session, you aren't looking for 30 random ideas. You are looking for 7 ideas for each of your 4 pillars. This simple shift in framing reduces the psychological barrier to entry. Let's look at a case study of a boutique skincare brand that transitioned from daily posting to a batch processing system. Originally, the founder spent approximately 2 hours every day creating content. That is 60 hours a month. By implementing the one-day system, she reduced her total time investment to 12 hours a month, including filming. More importantly, Her engagement rate saw a potential outcome of a 40% increase because her content was no longer rushed or reactive. It was strategic. She moved from "what should I post?" to "how does this post serve my pillar?" To maximize the efficiency of your one-day planning, you must understand the batching multiplier. This is a principle of industrial psychology. Every time you switch tasks, your brain takes an average of 23 minutes to regain full focus. If you write one caption, then edit one photo, then research one hashtag, you are losing hours of productivity to task switching friction. In our one-day system, we are going to segment the day into distinct phases: the strategy phase, the scripting phase, the visual mapping phase, and the scheduling phase. We do not move from one phase to the next until the previous one is 100% complete. In the strategy phase, which should occupy the first 90 minutes of your day, you are going to define your North Star for the month. What is the one action you want your audience to take? Is it signing up for a newsletter? Is it clicking a link in your bio? Or is it simply building brand authority? Every single piece of content you plan from this point forward must be a brick in the road leading to that North Star. If a post idea doesn't serve the goal, it gets discarded. This level of ruthlessness is what separates professional creators from hobbyists. By the end of this first hour of your planning day, you should have a bird's eye view of your entire month. You aren't looking at individual posts yet. You are looking at the narrative arc. You are looking at the cadence of your messaging. Are you providing enough value before you ask for a sale? Are you mixing high-energy entertainment with deep-dive education? This structural integrity is what keeps an audience coming back. They don't just follow you for a single post. They follow you for the journey you are taking them on. We are about to move into the heavy lifting, the scripting and hook writing phase, where we turn these abstract pillars into high-conversion reality. This is where most people fail, and it is where we are going to spend the most time ensuring your message is sharp, concise, and impossible to ignore. The writing phase is where your strategy either lives or dies. In 2026, the digital landscape is more crowded than ever before. Case studies from top marketing firms indicate that the average user scrolls through approximately 300 feet of content every single day. If your first 3 seconds do not provide an immediate cognitive dopamine hit, you have lost that viewer forever. Imagine if you are Sarah, a small business owner in Austin, Texas, trying to market a new sustainable apparel line. Sarah spends hours choosing the perfect lighting and the perfect backdrop, but she starts every video with a variation of, "Hey guys, I just wanted to jump on here and talk about our new collection." Historical trends show that this specific opening results in an 80% drop-off rate within the first 2 seconds. Sarah is invisible because she has failed to master the hook. To avoid Sarah's fate, you must implement what we call the hook matrix. This is the part of your planning day where you sit down and draft 30 distinct hooks before you write a single word of body copy. This prevents you from getting bogged down in the details of the content before you have secured the attention of the audience. In 2026, the most effective hooks fall into 3 categories: the negative constraint, the specific data point, and the controversial truth. A negative constraint hook might sound like, "Stop posting 3 times a day if you want to grow in 2026. This creates a psychological gap. The viewer is thinking, "Wait, I was told to post every day, why should I stop?" This is a potential outcome of creating tension that must be resolved by watching the rest of the video. A specific data point hook uses the power of concrete evidence to build immediate authority. For example, instead of saying, "I grew my following quickly," you would say, "How I gained 4,000 followers in 22 days using only 3-word captions." The specificity makes the claim feel tangible and believable. The controversial truth hook challenges a widely held belief in your industry. If you are in the career coaching niche, you might say your resume is the reason you are not getting hired, but it is not because of your experience. This immediately signals to the viewer that you have a unique perspective they haven't heard before. Once your 30 hooks are written, you must apply the "so what?" test. Read every hook aloud and imagine a skeptical viewer asking, "So what?" If the answer is not immediately obvious, the hook is too weak. For Sarah in Austin, her hook about her new collection fails the test because the viewer does not care about her collection. They care about how they will look or feel in the clothes. A stronger hook would be, "The 3 items every capsule wardrobe needs to look professional in 2026. After the hooks are finalized, we move into the body of the script. In 2026, short-form video has moved away from overproduced, cinematic styles toward what we call low-fidelity, high-authority content. Viewers want to feel like they are getting a FaceTime call from an expert, not watching a commercial. This means your scripts need to be conversational and punchy. Use the problem agitate solve framework for every single piece of content. First, you state a problem the viewer has. Second, you agitate that problem by explaining why it is worse than they think. Third, you provide the solution, which is your unique insight or product. Imagine if you are Marcus, a freelance consultant in Seattle. Marcus uses his one-day planning session to script out 7 videos for his authority pillar. One of his scripts follows this framework perfectly. Problem: you are working 10 hours a day but your bank account isn't growing. Agitate: that is because you are trading time for money in a 2026 economy that only rewards leverage. You are one burnout away from losing everything. Solve: you need to implement 3 specific automation tools that handle your lead generation while you sleep. By following this structure, Marcus is not just giving advice. He is taking the viewer on a psychological journey from pain to relief in 60 seconds. When writing your scripts, you must also consider the platform-specific nuances of 2026. A script for a YouTube short needs a different pacing than a script for a LinkedIn video or an Instagram reel. YouTube Shorts users typically respond to fast cuts and high information density. Instagram Reel users often look for aesthetic inspiration or relatable humor. LinkedIn users prefer professional transparency and data-backed insights. During your scripting block, which should take roughly 3 hours of your planning day, you are essentially creating a master manuscript that can be tweaked for each platform. Historical trends in 2026 indicate that the most successful creators use a technique called the internal loop. This is where you mention something halfway through the video that you will reveal at the very end. For example, midway through a tutorial you might say, and the third tool I am going to show you is actually the one that saved me 4 hours a week, but first let's look at tool number 2. This keeps the viewer engaged because they have a psychological need to close that loop. When you are scripting your 30 days of content, look for opportunities to insert these internal loops to increase your average view duration. By 2 p.m. on your planning day, you should have a document containing 30 scripts, each with a battle-tested hook, a structured body, and a clear call to action. Do not underestimate the power of a specific call to action. Vague requests like "follow for more" are becoming less effective. In 2026, the most successful calls to action are value-based. Instead of asking for a follow, ask the viewer to check the link in my bio for the free automation template I mentioned. This gives them a reason to engage that goes beyond just supporting you. This scripting process is exhausting, but it is the most critical component of the entire day. You are front-loading the cognitive labor so that when it comes time to film, you don't have to think. You just have to perform. You are moving from a state of constant creative anxiety to a state of clinical execution. But even the best script in the world will fail if the visual presentation is disjointed or confusing. In 2026, the visual language of social media is just as important as the verbal language. Most people think that once the script is done, they can just hit record and wing it. They are wrong. The next phase of our masterclass involves a process that most solo creators completely ignore: visual mapping and storyboarding. This is where we decide exactly what the viewer will see every 3 seconds to ensure they never have a reason to look away. We are going to look at how to plan your B-roll, your text overlays, and your transitions so that your filming process becomes a seamless assembly line. If you have ever wondered how top creators manage to have such dynamic, high-energy videos without spending weeks in the editing room, the secret is in the mapping. We are about to dive into how to visualize your 30 days of content so that you can film everything in less than 4 hours, even if you only have a smartphone and a single light source. Visual mapping is the bridge between a great idea on paper and a high-performance video on a screen. In 2026, the visual language of social media has evolved beyond simple aesthetic filters. It is now an intricate system of patterns designed to exploit the human brain's orientation reflex. If your visual stays the same for more than 4 seconds, the brain categorizes the information as static and begins to seek a new stimulus. This is why mapping your visuals is not an optional creative exercise, but a fundamental requirement for retention. To understand the power of visual mapping, consider the case study of Jackson, a freelance fitness consultant based in Miami. Jackson was producing high-quality educational content about metabolic health, but his average view duration was stuck at 15%. He was filming himself standing in front of a white wall, delivering his scripts in a single take. Even though his information was scientifically accurate, his audience was bored. In early 2026, Jackson implemented a visual beat system. He began marking his scripts with specific cues for every 3-second interval. By changing the camera angle, adding a text overlay, or inserting a brief clip of B-roll, he transformed his static lectures into dynamic experiences. The potential outcome was a 300% increase in his average view duration within just 2 months. Jackson didn't change what he was saying, he changed how he was showing it. The first step in your visual mapping process is the creation of a shot list asset library. Most creators make the mistake of filming their videos one by one from start to finish. This is the most inefficient way to work. Instead, you need to look at your 30 scripts and identify every recurring visual element. Imagine if you are Chloe, a digital artist in Chicago who is planning her content for the month. Instead of filming 30 separate videos, Chloe looks at her scripts and realizes that she needs 15 shots of her drawing on her tablet, 10 shots of her talking directly to the camera, and 5 shots of her walking through a local art gallery. By categorizing these shots, Chloe can implement what we call spatial batching. This means she sets up her lighting and camera in her studio once and films all 15 drawing shots for the entire month in a single 60-minute block. Then, she moves to her talking head setup and films all 10 of those segments back to back. This eliminates the friction of moving equipment and readjusting settings. In 2026, technical friction is the primary cause of content abandonment. If it takes you an hour to set up for a 1-minute video, you will eventually stop making videos. Spatial batching reduces that setup-to-output ratio significantly. As you map these visuals, you must also plan for the text overlay layer. Historical trends in 2026 show that up to 70% of users watch social media content with the sound off, particularly on platforms like LinkedIn and Instagram. This means your text overlays cannot just be captions. They must be visual anchors that summarize the key points of your script. During your mapping phase, you should identify the 3 most important keywords or phrases in every video. These words should appear on the screen in large, high-contrast fonts at the exact moment they are spoken. This creates a dual encoding effect where the viewer is both hearing and seeing the information, which increases retention and recall. Imagine a scenario where you are teaching a complex topic like the basics of supply chain logistics. Without visual mapping, you are just a talking head explaining a complicated concept. With visual mapping, as you say the word bottleneck, a bold red text box appears on the screen with an arrow pointing toward a graphic. This visual reinforcement keeps the viewer's brain engaged and prevents them from scrolling away. Case studies from educational creators in 2026 indicate that videos using strategic text overlays see a potential outcome of 20% higher share rates compared to videos without them. Another critical element of visual mapping is the transition protocol. In the fast-paced environment of 2026, the transition between your hook and your body copy is the most dangerous moment for retention. If there is a slight pause or a dip in energy, the viewer will leave. You must map out exactly how you will visually bridge that gap. Will you use a digital zoom in? Will you swipe the screen to a new location? Or will you use a physical transition, like snapping your fingers to change your outfit or your background? Mapping these transitions before you film ensures that you have the necessary footage to make the edit seamless. Let's look at the concept of the rule of 3 for visual variety. For every 60 seconds of content, you should have at least 3 different visual environments or perspectives. This does not mean you need 3 different locations. It could mean a wide shot, a tight close-up, and a top-down view of your hands. This variety prevents visual fatigue. During your planning day, you should assign a visual vibe to each of your content pillars. Perhaps your education pillar is always filmed in a clean, brightly lit office environment, while your behind-the-scenes pillar is filmed with a handheld, raw aesthetic. This visual consistency helps your audience instantly recognize your content as they scroll through their feed. To execute a 30-day content shoot in under 4 hours, you must also prepare your technical environment. This is the final stage of visual mapping. You need to create a production map of your space. Where is the primary light source? Where are the dead zones where audio echoes too much? In 2026, mobile phone sensors have become incredibly advanced, but they still require high-quality light to produce professional-grade results. You should map out exactly where you will stand and where your tripod will be placed for every shot. This level of detail sounds tedious, but it is what allows you to move with clinical speed during the filming process. By the time you finish this phase of your planning day, you should have a visual storyboard for all 30 videos. You know exactly what the viewer will see when they will see it, and how it will be reinforced with text and transitions. You have moved beyond the abstract and into the concrete. You are no longer wondering what to film. You are looking at a checklist of shots that simply need to be executed. This shift in perspective is what transforms a stressed-out creator into a media powerhouse. However, even with the perfect visual map and a world-class script, There is one final hurdle that stops most people in their tracks: the performance. It is one thing to have a plan. It is another thing to deliver that plan with the charisma, energy, and authority required to win in 2026. Many people find that as soon as the red light on the camera turns on, they become stiff, robotic, and unengaging. They lose the very personality that makes their brand unique. We are about to move into the actual production phase, where we will break down the high-performance filming protocol. This is the system used by top-tier presenters to maintain peak energy for 4 hours straight, ensuring that the last video they film is just as compelling as the first. We will explore how to master your delivery, eliminate the need for multiple retakes, and capture a month's worth of content without losing your voice or your sanity. The production phase is where the psychological battle truly begins. By now, it is likely mid-afternoon on your designated content day. You have your strategy, your scripts, and your visual map. Most creators fail here because they treat filming as a creative act when they should be treating it as a clinical execution. In 2026, the camera is a vacuum that absorbs roughly 20% of your natural energy. To appear normal on a smartphone screen, you must perform at 120%. This is why the high-performance filming protocol is centered on energy management rather than just technical settings. If you lose your spark in video 20, your audience will feel it, and your retention will crater. Let us look at a case study involving David, a real estate consultant in Phoenix, Arizona. In early 2026, David attempted to film 30 videos in one day and quit after video 4. He was exhausted because he was trying to make every take perfect. He would stumble over a word, stop the recording, delete the file, and start over. This constant stopping and starting created a cognitive friction that drained his mental battery. David shifted to the one-take workflow, a staple of the high-performance filming protocol. In this system, you never stop the camera. If you make a mistake, you simply pause, look at the lens, count to 3 in your head, and repeat the last sentence. Historical trends in video editing show that these 3-second silences create a visual flatline in the audio waveform. When you move into the editing phase, you can see exactly where the mistakes are without having to watch the entire clip. This simple technical adjustment saved David over 4 hours of filming time. Potential outcomes of this method include a more relaxed delivery, as the pressure of being perfect on the first try is removed. David went from filming 4 videos in a day to filming all 30 in a single 3-hour window. To maintain this level of output, you must implement the state change technique. Imagine if you are Elena, a freelance graphic designer in New York City. Elena films her content in batches, but she found that by video 10, her voice sounded monotone and her face looked tired. To combat this, she uses a physical trigger between every 5 videos. She might do 10 jumping jacks, listen to a high-tempo song for 60 seconds, or simply step outside for fresh air. This spikes her heart rate and resets her nervous system. In the 2026 attention economy, high vibration energy is a competitive advantage. If you look like you are reading a grocery list, the viewer will treat your content like a grocery list and discard it. The technical setup for your high-performance day must be finalized before you film video number 1. This is the tech lock phase. In 2026, mobile devices have advanced sensors that can rival professional cinema cameras, but they are unforgiving with poor lighting. You must lock your exposure and focus. If you allow your phone to hunt for focus while you move your hands, it creates a visual jitter that signals a lack of professionalism. Use a dedicated camera app that allows for manual overrides. Set your white balance to a fixed number so your skin tone does not shift from video to video. This ensures that when you batch edit your month of content later, you can apply a single color grade to every clip simultaneously. We also need to discuss the vocal sustainability protocol. Filming for 3 hours straight is an athletic event for your vocal cords. In 2026, many creators are dealing with vocal fatigue because they do not hydrate correctly. Avoid dairy and high-sugar drinks on your filming day, as these create mucus that leads to throat clearing. Stick to room temperature water with lemon. If your voice starts to crack, you are already too late. You should be sipping water between every single script. Furthermore, pay attention to your posture. If you are sitting, sit on the edge of your chair to engage your core. This allows for better breath support, making your voice sound more authoritative and grounded. Imagine a scenario where you are filming a series of deep-dive educational videos about 2026 tax implications for freelancers. This is a dry topic. If your voice lacks resonance, you will lose the viewer's interest regardless of how valuable the information is. By using the anchor and pivot delivery method, you can maintain engagement. Instead of reading a teleprompter word for word, you look at your bullet points, anchor on the key concept, and pivot to the camera to explain it as if you were talking to a friend at a coffee shop. This creates a sense of intimacy and trust that a scripted reading can never replicate. Historical data from social media platforms in 2026 suggests that authenticity is no longer just a buzzword. It is a metric. Users are becoming highly sensitive to the uncanny valley of overscripted, AI-generated, or overly polished content. The high-performance filming protocol encourages the occasional stumble or natural hand gesture. These human elements act as pattern breakers in an increasingly sterilized digital world. During your filming session, if you move your hands naturally or have a genuine laugh at a mistake, keep it in. These moments of humanity are often the most shared parts of a video. To further optimize your day, we utilize the wardrobe rotation system. Even though you are filming everything in one day, your audience should not feel that. You need at least 5 different shirts or accessories to rotate through. This provides a visual cue that time has passed, keeping your feed looking fresh and varied. Case studies of top-tier influencers show that visual stagnation is a leading cause of follower unfurling. By changing your top every 5 videos, you psychologically signal to the algorithm and the viewer that each piece of content is a new, distinct event. By the time you reach the final video of your 30-day batch, you should feel a sense of professional momentum. You have moved through the scripts with efficiency, maintained your energy through physical resets, and ensured technical consistency through the tech lock phase. You have effectively compressed a month of anxiety-inducing work into a few hours of high-intensity performance. You are no longer a content creator who is perpetually behind. You are a media producer who is ahead of the curve. However, the raw footage you have just captured is merely the foundation. In 2026, the edit is where the story is truly told. There is a massive gap between a raw clip and a viral sensation, and that gap is filled with the invisible editor system. This is a methodology that allows you to edit a month of content in the same amount of time it used to take you to edit one video. We are about to transition into the post-production phase, where we will discuss the 2026 AI-augmented editing workflows, the secret to rhythmic cutting, and how to use sound design to keep a viewer's thumb frozen on the screen. We will look at how to automate the tedious parts of editing so you can focus on the creative flourishes that actually drive engagement and conversions. The post-production phase in 2026 is no longer the bottleneck it was 5 years ago. Historically, the editing room was where dreams of consistency went to die. A creator would spend 4 hours filming and then 40 hours editing, leading to a total collapse of the production schedule. To avoid this, we implement the invisible editor system. This is a workflow designed around the principle of minimal resistance. In 2026, the most successful channels have shifted away from manual frame-by-frame slicing toward transcript-based, AI-augmented workflows. This allows you to treat your video like a Word document rather than a complex chemical reaction. Consider the case study of Tyler, a solo entrepreneur based in Seattle who provides high-level consulting for sustainable tech startups. In early 2026, Tyler struggled to maintain a presence on social media because he felt he lacked the technical skills of a professional editor. When he moved to a batch planning system, he adopted a transcript-first editing approach. By using software that automatically transcribes his 3-hour raw footage batch, Tyler can now simply highlight the text he wants to keep and delete the rest. The software performs the corresponding cuts in the video timeline instantly. Historical trends suggest that this method reduces the initial rough cut time by up to 70%. Potential outcomes for Tyler included a drastic reduction in his Sunday evening stress and a 60% increase in his total monthly output. The first step in your post-production block is the jump cut optimization. In the 2026 attention economy, silence is a liability. Your raw footage from the previous phase contains natural pauses, breaths, and the 3-second silences you intentionally left after mistakes. You must use an automated silence remover tool set to a sensitivity of -30 decibels with a padding of 0.1 seconds. This creates a hyper-fast, rhythmic pace that feels modern and urgent. Imagine if you are Benjamin, a freelance financial educator in Atlanta. Benjamin's videos are packed with dense information. By removing every millisecond of dead air, he creates a vacuum effect that pulls the viewer through the video. If the viewer stops to think for too long, they might scroll away. The jump cut keeps them locked in. Once the rough cut is finished, we move to the semantic B-roll layering. In 2026, we have access to tools that can listen to your script and suggest relevant B-roll or stock footage from a cloud-based library in real time. This is where the visual mapping you did in the morning pays off. Because you already have a list of shots, you can simply drag and drop your recorded assets into the gaps created by your script. Imagine a scenario where you are explaining the concept of decentralization. As you speak the word, the AI highlights it and offers a visual representation of a distributed network. You are not searching through folders for hours, you are approving suggestions. This allows you to maintain the rule of 3 mentioned earlier, ensuring the visual changes every few seconds without you having to manually keyframe every transition. A critical component of the 2026 edit is kinetic typography. Historical data from major social platforms indicates that videos with large, high-contrast text overlays that move in sync with the speaker's voice have a 30% higher retention rate than those with static subtitles. In your editing block, you should apply a kinetic text preset to your entire batch. This text should not be a word-for-word transcription of everything you say. Instead, it should act as a visual headline for each section. If you are a real estate agent in Austin named Maya, and you are discussing current market trends, the words interest rates or inventory levels should snap onto the screen in a bold, brand-consistent font. This provides a secondary path for the brain to process the information, which is essential for viewers who are watching in loud environments without headphones. The fourth phase of the invisible editor system is the rhythmic audio anchor. Sound design is the most undervalued part of the content creation process. In 2026, your audio should be treated as a 3-dimensional layer. First, you have your vocal track, which must be processed with a limiter and a compressor to ensure a consistent, professional volume level across all 30 videos. Second, you have your background music. Case studies of viral creators show that changing the background track to match the emotional arc of the script is more effective than using one song for the entire video. If you move from a problem to a solution, the music should shift from a tense, low-frequency tone to a bright, uplifting tempo. Third, and most importantly, are the sound effects or SFX. Every time a text box appears or a transition occurs, there must be a subtle auditory cue. A digital pop, a paper rustle, or a low-frequency whoosh acts as a pattern interrupt for the human ear. It tells the brain that something new has happened and it should pay attention. In 2026, we use audio ducking automation to ensure that the music and SFX never overwhelm the voice. The background music should automatically drop by 12 decibels whenever the vocal track is active. This ensures clarity while maintaining the energy of the track. Let us look at a case study of a boutique coffee roaster in Portland. By implementing a standardized audio template for their monthly content, they were able to create a recognizable brand sound. Within 3 months, their followers could recognize a video from the roastery just by the first 3 seconds of the audio, even before seeing a single image. This is the power of sonic branding. When you are editing 30 videos in one day, you cannot afford to start from scratch each time. You must have a master project file where your audio settings, text styles, and color grades are already locked in. Speaking of color, the final step in your post-production block is the uniformity grade. Because you use the tech lock phase during filming, every clip should have the same exposure and white balance. This allows you to apply a single color lookup table or LUT to the entire batch of 30 videos. In 2026, the trend has moved away from heavy orange and teal cinematic grades toward a high-clarity, natural look. You want your skin tones to look healthy, and your environment to look vibrant but realistic. A single click should make all 30 videos look like they were shot by a professional film crew. By 5 p.m. on your planning day, you are no longer looking at raw footage. You are looking at a folder of 30 polished, high-retention assets that are ready for the world. You have successfully navigated the most difficult part of the process by using systems to bypass the need for raw creative willpower. However, having 30 great videos is only half the battle. If you upload them at the wrong time with the wrong captions, or without the proper metadata, the algorithm will bury them. In 2026, the way you package and distribute your content is just as important as the content itself. Most people think their work is done once the export bar hits 100%. In reality, we are just moving into the most strategic part of the day, the distribution and SEO architecture. We are about to dive into how to write captions that convert, how to use 2026 specific keyword research to ensure your videos appear in search results for years to come, and how to schedule your entire month of content in under 60 minutes. We will explore the secret of the hybrid posting strategy, which leverages the strengths of different platforms to create a cohesive brand ecosystem. This is how you ensure that your one day of hard work actually results in measurable growth and community engagement. The distribution and SEO architecture phase is where your creative effort meets the cold, hard logic of the machine. In 2026, The social media landscape has completed its transformation into a series of vertical search engines. Historical trends show that more than 60% of Gen Z and millennial users now use social platforms as their primary search tool, bypassing traditional web browsers entirely. This means that if you are not treating your captions and metadata with the same level of technical precision as a website developer, you are essentially leaving your growth to chance. The algorithm is no longer just looking for engagement, it is looking for relevance and intent. Imagine if you are Jordan, a freelance solar energy consultant based in Denver. Jordan spends his one-day planning session creating high-quality videos about the 2026 federal tax credits for renewable energy. If Jordan simply titles his videos "My Thoughts on Solar," he is invisible. However, by implementing a semantic keyword strategy, Jordan can align his content with exactly what his target audience is typing into the search bar. In 2026, this involves identifying your primary, secondary, and tertiary keywords before you even open your scheduling app. For Jordan, the primary keyword is Colorado Solar Incentives 2026. The secondary keywords are grid independence and sustainable home ROI. The tertiary keywords are specific phrases like how to qualify for solar credits or cost of solar panels in Denver. During this phase of your day, which should take roughly 90 minutes, you are going to build a keyword cloud for every single one of your 30 videos. You do this by using the autocomplete feature on the platforms themselves. Open the search bar on the platform where you plan to post, type in your main topic, and see what the platform suggests. These suggestions are the digital footprint of your audience's desires. If you see people are searching for meal prep for 2026 busy professionals, that exact phrase needs to be in your caption, your video description, and even mentioned in the first 5 seconds of your video audio. The 2026 caption architecture is built on the reverse pyramid method. Historically, people used captions to tell a story that built up to a point. Today, that approach results in a potential outcome of high bounce rates. Instead, the very first line of your caption must be the high-value keyword hook. It should summarize exactly what the viewer will get from the video. If the video is about productivity, the first line should be the 3-step system for reclaiming 5 hours a week in 2026. Only after this line do you provide the context, the story, and the call to action. This ensures that even if the user does not click see more, the algorithm has already indexed the most important information for search. Let's look at a case study of a boutique skincare brand that transitioned to an SEO-first distribution model. They realized that their audience wasn't just looking for products. They were looking for solutions to specific problems like how to fix blue light skin damage. By shifting their captions to lead with these search terms, they saw a 200% increase in evergreen traffic, views that come in weeks or months after the video was posted. This is the goal of our one-day planning system. We want to create content that works for you while you sleep, not content that dies 24 hours after you post it. The next critical element of this block is the visual metadata strategy, specifically your cover images or thumbnails. In 2026, the 1-second rule is the law of the land. You have less than 1 second to communicate your value proposition as a user scrolls at high speed. This is why we map out our thumbnails during our planning day. A successful thumbnail in 2026 requires 3 things: high contrast subject isolation, result-oriented imagery, and text minimalism. If your thumbnail has more than 4 words on it, it is too busy. You want to show the after state of whatever problem you are solving. If you are a fitness coach, don't show a picture of a dumbbell. Show a picture of the client's transformation with the words Day 30 result. As you move through your 30 videos, you must also consider the hybrid platform adaptation. In 2026, the era of identical cross-posting is over. While you are using the same core video, the packaging must change to fit the psychological state of the user on different platforms. Imagine if you are a career coach in Chicago named Mia. When Mia posts her video on LinkedIn, her caption leads with the 2026 shift in corporate leadership hiring. When she posts the same video on a more casual platform, she leads with why your boss isn't telling you the truth about promotions. The video is the same, but the framing changes. During your distribution block, you will create a master document where you have these platform-specific variations ready to go. This brings us to the actual scheduling. We are now in the late afternoon of your planning day. You have your 30 polished videos, your keyword-optimized captions, and your high-conversion thumbnails. Now, you use a unified scheduling tool to set it and forget it. In 2026, these tools have become incredibly sophisticated, offering predictive heat maps that show you exactly when your specific audience is most likely to be active. You are not guessing. You are looking at data-driven windows of opportunity. You spend the next 60 minutes uploading your assets, tagging them with your secondary and tertiary keywords, and scheduling them to go out over the next 4 weeks. Case studies of successful creators in 2026 indicate that the most effective posting cadence is not necessarily daily, but rather a consistency to quality ratio. It is better to post 4 high-signal, SEO-optimized videos a week than 7 low-quality ones. By scheduling your content in advance, you remove the daily emotional friction of posting. You are no longer checking your phone every 5 minutes to see how a post is doing because that post was planned and scheduled weeks ago. You have successfully decoupled your time from your output. However, even with the most perfect SEO and the most beautiful thumbnails, there is a hidden danger that can sink your entire month of work. This is what industry experts call the engagement valley. If your content is posted but fails to generate a specific type of early interaction within the first 60 minutes, the algorithm may decide it isn't worth pushing to a wider audience, regardless of how well optimized it is. Many creators make the mistake of thinking their work is done once the scheduling is complete. They fall into the trap of post and ghost. We are about to move into the final high-stakes phase of our masterclass, the engagement trigger system. This is where we plan exactly how to spark a wildfire of comments and shares the moment your content goes live. We will explore the comment-to-conversion loop, the secret of the controversial question anchor, and how to use the first hour after a post to force the algorithm to take notice. If you want to ensure that your 30 days of content don't just sit there but actually move the needle for your brand, you need to master the art of manufactured momentum. We are diving into the psychology of why people comment and how to engineer your content to make engagement inevitable. The science of engagement in 2026 has moved far beyond the simplistic call to action of comment below if you agree. Today, the algorithms on major platforms utilize advanced natural language processing to analyze not just the quantity of your comments, but the depth, sentiment, and velocity of the conversation taking place beneath your video. Historical trends show that a video with 10 long-form, high-value comments will outperform a video with 100 single emoji comments every single time. This is because the platform interprets a long-form comment as a sign that your content has triggered a meaningful cognitive response in the viewer. To win the month, you cannot leave these interactions to chance. You must engineer them during your one-day planning session. To understand how to manufacture this momentum, let us look at the case study of Jackson, a sustainable agriculture consultant in Iowa. In 2025, Jackson struggled with what we call the ghost town effect. He was posting high-quality educational videos, but his comment sections were empty. When he transitioned to the engagement trigger system in early 2026, he began pre-planning his conversation starters during his one-day batching session. Instead of finishing a video by asking for general feedback, he began using the binary choice anchor. He would present 2 distinct, slightly polarizing viewpoints and ask his audience to defend one. For example, in a video about urban farming, he asked, "Is the future of food in high-tech hydroponic towers or in decentralized backyard soil?" This specific framing forced his audience to take a side. The potential outcome was a 400% increase in average comment length, which signaled to the algorithm that Jackson's content was a hub for community discourse, leading to a massive spike in non-follower reach. When you are in the scripting phase of your planning day, you need to identify the engagement North Star for every single piece of content. Every video must have a designated trigger. We categorize these triggers into 3 types: the intellectual debate, the relatable grievance, and the collaborative knowledge share. The intellectual debate, like Jackson's example, asks for an opinion on a non-settled topic. The relatable grievance targets a common frustration in your niche. If you are a freelance developer in San Francisco named Sophia, you might script a video about the frustration of 2026 AI coding tools hallucinating during a deadline. Your trigger would be, what is the most ridiculous error an AI has ever made in your codebase? This invites your audience to share their own stories, creating a sense of camaraderie and high-velocity engagement. The third trigger, the collaborative knowledge share, is perhaps the most powerful for building long-term authority. This is where you intentionally leave a small gap in your information and ask the community to fill it. You might provide 4 tips on a topic and then ask, what is the 5th tip that I missed? Historical data suggests that people love to demonstrate their expertise. By giving them a platform to do so, you turn your comment section into a resource. During your planning day, you should pre-write the first 3 comments for every video. These are your seed comments. You or a team member will post these the moment the video goes live to break the ice and set the tone for the conversation. Imagine a scenario where you are a real estate investor named Marcus. You have planned a video about the shifting property values in the Sun Belt for 2026. During your one-day session, you don't just write the script. You also write a community management blueprint. This blueprint contains 3 pre-written responses to the most likely objections you will receive. If someone comments that the market is overvalued, you already have a data-backed, respectful response ready to copy and paste. This allows you to engage with the first hour of comments with incredible speed. In 2026, the speed of your initial replies is a major ranking factor. The faster you reply, the more likely the algorithm is to continue pushing the video to new users. This is the comment-to-conversion loop in action. The goal of this loop is to move the viewer from a passive observer to an active participant and eventually to a lead or customer. To do this effectively, your replies must be more than just a thank you. You should aim to end every reply with another question. This keeps the thread alive. Historical trends in community management show that threads with more than 5 back-and-forth interactions are significantly more likely to be featured in the discovery or For You feeds of users who do not follow you. By planning these interaction paths during your one-day session, you are ensuring that your engagement is strategic rather than reactive. Another critical element to plan is the shareability factor. In 2026, a share is the highest form of currency. When a user shares your video to their stories or sends it in a direct message, they are vouching for your brand. To increase the potential outcome of shares, you must include what we call the status update moment in your scripts. This is a 5 to 10 second segment that is so concise and insightful that a user feels it reflects well on them to share it. Think of it as a digital badge of honor. If you are a nutritionist named Chloe, your status update moment might be a quick breakdown of why the 2026 trend of extreme fasting is physiologically counterproductive. Users who share that video are signaling to their own followers that they are informed and health conscious. As you conclude the engagement planning for your 30-day batch, you must also schedule your engagement power hours. These are 60-minute windows immediately following your scheduled post times. During your one-day planning session, mark these on your calendar. You cannot post and ghost. You must be present to stoke the fire you have started. This level of dedication is what separates the top 1% of creators from everyone else. You have built the machine, you have fueled it with content, and now you are preparing to steer it toward maximum impact. We have now covered the strategy, the scripting, the visual mapping, the production, the editing, and the engagement triggers. Your month is planned, your content is created, and your community management is ready to go. But there is one final piece of the puzzle that most people overlook, and it is the most important part for long-term sustainability. It is the analysis and pivot phase. Even the best plan needs to be adjusted based on real-world data. In 2026, the creators who dominate are not those who never fail, but those who fail the fastest and learn the most. We are about to move into how to conduct a high-speed data audit at the end of your month to ensure that your next one-day planning session is even more effective than the first. We will explore the 3 specific metrics that actually matter in 2026 and how to use them to refine your content pillars for exponential growth. This is where you move from a linear growth curve to a compounding one, ensuring that every month you spend planning is more profitable and less stressful than the last. We are diving into the feedback loop that turns a single day of work into a lifetime of influence. The transition from creation to analysis is where most people stumble because they view data as a report card rather than a roadmap. In 2026, the creators who are experiencing the highest potential outcomes are those who treat their analytics dashboard like a high-frequency trading floor. You are not just looking for how many people liked your post, you are looking for where they stopped breathing. Historical trends in 2026 indicate that the traditional funnel of reach, engagement, and conversion has been replaced by the attention-retention-intention loop. If you cannot master the data behind this loop, your next one-day planning session will be nothing more than a shot in the dark. The first metric we must dissect in your monthly audit is the retention heat map. In 2026, video platforms provide a millisecond by millisecond breakdown of viewer behavior. Imagine if you are Liam, a career coach in Nashville. Liam spent his entire planning day creating what he thought were 30 perfect videos. After 30 days, he looks at his analytics and sees a recurring pattern: a sharp 40% drop-off at the 7-second mark in 22 of his videos. By zooming into these specific moments, Liam realizes that this is the exact second he shifts from his high-energy hook to his branded intro animation. The data is screaming at him that his audience finds his intro boring. In his next planning day, Liam will eliminate the intro entirely, potentially leading to a 30% increase in his average view duration. This is not a guess. It is a data-driven pivot. When you analyze your 30-day batch, you are looking for the shape of success. In the 2026 digital economy, there are three primary retention shapes: the hockey stick, the slow decay, and the value plateau. The hockey stick is characterized by a sharp drop at the beginning followed by a flat line. This suggests your hook was misleading or your video was shown to the wrong audience. The slow decay is the standard curve, indicating that the content was good, but perhaps lacked enough pattern interrupts to keep the viewer locked in. The value plateau is the gold standard. This is a flat line where viewers stay from the 10-second mark all the way to the end. You must identify which of your 30 videos achieve the value plateau and analyze every word of that script. Was it the tone? Was it the specific examples? Was it the background music? Whatever it was, that becomes the template for 70% of your next month's content. Beyond retention, we have the save-to-reach ratio, which in 2026 has become the ultimate proxy for authority. A like is a passive gesture. A save is a bookmark for future action. Case studies of viral educational channels show that a save-to-reach ratio of over 3% is the threshold for the algorithm to trigger a massive discovery push. If you see a video with a high save count but low views, it means the content is incredibly valuable but the packaging, the thumbnail or the hook, is failing. This is a crucial distinction. It means you don't need to change your message. You just need to change your gift wrap. In your planning day, you would take that high-value script and refilm it with 5 different hooks to see which one unlocks the reach that the content deserves. Imagine if you are Chloe, a sustainable florist in Portland. Chloe notices that her videos about the technical science of soil pH levels are getting 10 times more saves than her beautiful flower arrangement time-lapse. To the average person, the time-lapse look like the winners because they have more likes. But Chloe is a professional. She sees that the soil pH videos are building a high-intent audience of serious gardeners who are more likely to buy her premium potting mixes. In 2026, the save is the lead indicator of future revenue. Chloe pivots her next planning day to focus 80% of her pillars on technical education, while keeping the aesthetic shots as brief B-roll transitions. Now we must discuss sentiment mapping. In 2026, manual comment reading is for amateurs. You should be using AI-driven sentiment tools to categorize the thousands of comments your engagement trigger system generated. You are looking for the tension points. Are people arguing about a specific tip you gave? Are they asking for a deeper dive into a subtopic? This is where your next 30 ideas come from. Instead of brainstorming in a vacuum, you are simply answering the questions your audience has already asked. Historical data suggests that content created as a direct response to a community question has a 40% higher engagement rate than top-down broadcast content. You are no longer a creator. You are a facilitator of a community-wide conversation. During this analysis phase, which should take the final 90 minutes of your workday, you are also performing a competitor correlation audit. You need to look at 3 creators in your niche who are outperforming you. What are their retention patterns? In 2026, transparency tools allow us to see the average performance metrics of entire categories. If the industry average for a career coaching video is 45 seconds of retention and you are at 30, you have a structural problem. You need to look at the pacing of the top performers. Are they using more cuts? Is their audio more crisp? Do they use more emotional triggers? This isn't about copying. It's about understanding the baseline expectations of the 2026 viewer. The most important part of the feedback loop is the 80-20 pivot protocol. At the end of your audit, you will likely find that 20% of your videos, 6 out of the 30 generated 80% of your growth. This is the law of the universe in digital media. Your goal for the next planning day is to double down on the DNA of those 6 videos. This is called fractional iteration. You don't change everything. You change one variable at a time. If those 6 videos were all filmed in your kitchen, film the next 30 in your kitchen. If they all featured a specific color of text overlay, keep that color. You are seeking the specific formula that resonates with your unique tribe. By the time the sun sets on your content planning day, you are in a state of complete clarity. You have gone from a blank page to a strategy, to scripts, to production, to editing, to a scheduled month of high-performance assets, and finally to a data-driven plan for the following month. You have effectively automated the growth of your brand through a system of clinical execution. You have removed the greatest enemy of the creator, the need for daily inspiration. However, there is one final invisible layer to this entire system. You can have the best data, the best scripts, and the best videos, But if you do not understand the 2026 monetization bridge, you are just a famous person who is broke. Many creators have millions of views but $0 in the bank because they don't know how to turn attention into an ecosystem of sustainable income without alienating their audience. We are about to move into the final chapters of this masterclass, the business of social media. We are going to explore how to integrate your product or service so seamlessly into your content that your audience thanks you for selling to them. We will look at the psychological triggers of the 2026 consumer and how to build a back-end system that scales as your views scale. We are about to turn your content machine into a revenue engine. The monetization bridge is the final and most critical pillar of your one-day planning system. In 2026, the digital economy has shifted away from the pursuit of broad, unfocused views toward the pursuit of high-intent, transactional attention. Historical trends show that creators who rely solely on platform ad revenue are often subjected to a 50% volatility in their monthly income. To build a sustainable brand, you must treat your social media not just as a content gallery, but as the top-of-funnel entry point for a robust business ecosystem. This requires you to plan your monetization touchpoints with the same surgical precision you use for your hooks and your lighting. Imagine if you are Ethan, a specialized marketing consultant in Austin, Texas. Ethan spent years chasing viral growth, but in early 2026, he realized that 10,000 views from qualified business owners were worth more than 10 million views from high school students. During his one-day planning session, Ethan implements what we call the outcome-oriented sales architecture. Instead of simply sharing tips, he maps out his 30 days of content to address the specific psychological barriers that prevent his audience from hiring a consultant. He doesn't just plan videos, he plans a sequence of mental shifts. Step 1 of this architecture is identifying the core transactional problem. Ethan knows that his target audience isn't just looking for marketing advice. They are looking for a way to reduce their customer acquisition costs. In his one-day planning session, he designates 5 of his 30 videos as bridge content. These are videos where he identifies a problem, provides a partial solution, and then mentions a deeper, more comprehensive solution available through his services. For example, Ethan scripts a video titled "The 2026 Shift in Lead Tracking That Every CEO is Missing." In the final 10 seconds, he provides a low-friction call to action. I have built a tracking template that handles this automatically. You can grab it at the link in my bio. This is not a high-pressure sales pitch. It is a logical extension of the value he just provided. Historical trends in 2026 suggest that the modern consumer has developed a high level of immunity to traditional advertising. They can smell a sales pitch within the first 3 seconds. To counter this, you must master the art of the invisible offer. This is where your product or service is shown as the tool used to achieve the educational result you are teaching. Imagine if you are Grace, a fitness coach in Los Angeles who sells a proprietary mobile training app. In her planning day, Grace ensures that every workout tutorial she films features her app on a tripod in the background or shows her checking her progress on the app interface. She isn't telling people to buy the app. She is showing them that the app is the foundation of her success. This creates a potential outcome where the audience begins to associate the app with the results they desire, leading to organic, high-conversion inquiries. During the final hour of your planning day, you must also design your lead magnet integration. In 2026, your email list or private community is your only truly owned asset. Algorithms can change overnight, but a direct line to your audience remains constant. For every 4-week content block, you should have one central lead magnet, a free guide, a template, a checklist, or a mini-course that your content points toward. You need to map out exactly which videos will mention this lead magnet and how the transition will feel. If you are a digital artist named Maya in San Francisco, your lead magnet might be a set of 2026 optimized brush presets for digital painting. During your planning session, you script 3 specific videos that demonstrate how those brushes solve a common technical problem for artists. You are creating a frictionless path from a viewer's pain point to your free solution, and ultimately to your paid masterclass. The back-end system that supports this content must be capable of scaling as your views scale. In 2026, we utilize AI-driven lead scoring to handle the influx of data. When someone downloads Maya's brush presets, the system automatically analyzes their engagement levels. If they watch 3 more of her videos and click a link to her course page, the system identifies them as a high-intent lead and sends a personalized, automated follow-up. This allows Maya to focus her one-day planning on the creative side, while her revenue engine runs on autopilot in the background. Case studies from the first quarter of 2026 indicate that creators who implement these automated back-end systems see a potential outcome of a 40% increase in customer lifetime value compared to those who manually manage their leads. We must also discuss the 2026 shift toward micro-conversions. Most creators try to go from a 60-second video straight to a $1,000 product. This gap is too wide for most consumers to jump. Your one-day planning should include a ladder of commitments. Start with the micro-conversion of a save or a share. Then, move to the small commitment of a newsletter sign-up. Finally, lead them to a low-cost entry product before pitching your high-ticket service. By mapping this ladder across your 30 days of content, you are slowly and ethically conditioning your audience to invest in your brand. You are building a relationship based on a series of small, successful exchanges of value. As you finalize your monetization mapping, you must perform a value-to-offer audit. For every 30 videos, historical data suggests an 80-20 ratio is most effective for long-term retention. This means 24 of your videos should be 100% pure value, with no ask other than engagement. The remaining 6 videos are your bridge content where you actively guide the audience toward your revenue engine. If you flip this ratio and become too promotional, you will see a sharp decay in your reach as the algorithm detects a drop in user satisfaction. In 2026, the algorithm is the ultimate gatekeeper of consumer trust, and it favors creators who prioritize the viewer's experience over immediate profit. By the end of this phase, you have successfully transformed your content plan into a business plan. You know exactly how many leads you are aiming for, which videos are responsible for generating those leads, and how those leads will be nurtured through your back-end system. You are no longer wondering if your social media is worth the effort. You are looking at a predictable, scalable model for growth. You have successfully navigated the most complex part of the 2026 digital landscape by replacing guesswork with systemic execution. But there is one final psychological hurdle that even the most successful creators face. You have the plan, you have the videos, and you have the revenue engine. But how do you maintain this level of intensity month after month without hitting the wall of total burnout? The creators who are still winning in 2026 are not the ones who worked the hardest for 1 month. They are the ones who mastered the super consistency framework. We are about to enter the final part of this masterclass, where we will discuss the long-term mindset of the professional creator. We are going to look at how to automate your entire workflow so that you only have to think about content 1 day a month, leaving you the other 29 days to live your life, grow your business, and stay ahead of the next major technological shift. We are about to lock in the habits that turn a one-day sprint into a lifetime of success. The super consistency framework is the final wall of defense against the psychological erosion that claims so many digital brands in 2026. We have spent the last 9 parts of this masterclass building a machine, but even the most efficient machine requires an operator who is not perpetually exhausted. Historical trends in the creator economy suggest that the primary reason for failure is not a lack of talent or a poor algorithm, but the total depletion of the creator's creative reserves. When you are forced to be creative on command every single day, you are essentially asking your brain to run a marathon at a sprint pace. By compressing your output into a single day, you are utilizing a psychological principle known as timeboxing, which allows for deep work followed by deep recovery. Imagine if you are Alex, a high-level consultant in Seattle who specializes in logistics. Alex used to be the creator who was constantly on his phone, filming every meal, every meeting, and every thought. By mid-2025, his productivity in his actual business had dropped because his brain was always searching for the next content hook. When he transitioned to the one-day planning system in 2026, he regained 29 days of his life. During those 29 days, Alex does not create. He collects. This is the capture phase of the super consistency framework. Alex keeps a dedicated folder on his phone called the Vault. Whenever he has a conversation with a client that sparks an idea, or he reads a news article about a shift in the shipping industry, he records a 10-second voice memo or takes a screenshot and drops it into the Vault. He does not edit it. He does not write a caption. He simply offloads the thought from his brain so he can return to his work. This cognitive offloading is essential for the long-term sustainability of your brand. It ensures that when your next one-day planning session arrives, you are not staring at a blank screen. You are opening a treasure chest of real-world insights gathered during your actual life. This makes your content more authentic and grounded in reality. Case studies of top-tier 2026 creators show that those who use a passive capture system have a potential outcome of 30% higher engagement because their content feels less like a performance and more like a shared journey. You are moving from the role of a performer to the role of a documentarian. To lock in this system, you must also master the 2026 automation stack. By late afternoon on your planning day, you should be utilizing AI-driven tools that handle the heavy lifting of platform maintenance. Historically, creators had to manually check if their videos were being reformatted correctly for different aspect ratios. In 2026, we use tools that automatically detect the focal point of a video and crop it for every specific platform, from widescreen desktop views to vertical mobile feeds. This means you upload one master file, and the system generates 30 different variations optimized for every corner of the internet. During your final hour of work, you are simply reviewing these variations for quality assurance rather than doing the manual labor yourself. We also need to address the community pulse system. While your content is scheduled and your monetization is automated, your audience still needs to feel your presence. In 2026, the most successful creators use a method called focus presence. Instead of checking comments throughout the day, which leads to a fragmented focus, you designate 2 15-minute windows a day to engage with your community. During these windows, you are not just replying to comments. You are looking for new questions to drop into your vault for next month's planning. This creates a closed-loop system where your audience is essentially writing your next month of content for you. Potential outcomes of this focused approach include a significant reduction in digital anxiety and a higher quality of interaction with your followers. Let's look at a scenario involving a character named Jordan, who runs a remote work advocacy platform from Denver. Jordan realized that the 2026 algorithm was penalizing accounts that showed signs of automation fatigue, where the content feels cold and disconnected. To solve this, Jordan added a 5% manual touch to his scheduled month. Every Wednesday, he spends 10 minutes filming a raw, unedited update that he posts directly to his stories. This acts as the human anchor for his highly produced, scheduled content. This blend of systemic efficiency and raw human connection is the secret to winning the 2026 attention war. It tells the viewer that while the brand is a well-oiled machine, there is a real person at the controls. As you complete your first full cycle of this one-day system, you must conduct a personal energy audit. Look back at the day you spent planning and creating. Where did you feel the most friction? Was it the scripting? Was it the technical setup? In 2026, we have the ability to outsource these friction points to specialized AI agents or freelance specialists. If you find that editing takes you too long, even with the invisible editor system, that is your signal to reinvest your early revenue into a human editor who can take your raw batch and apply your brand's unique style. Your goal is to move from being the person who does everything to being the person who makes the decisions. This is how you scale from a solo creator to a media company. Historical data from the last 5 years shows that the creators who survive are the ones who can disconnect. In the 2026 landscape, being always on is a sign of a failing system, not a successful one. By mastering the one-day planning method, you are giving yourself the ultimate luxury, the freedom to be offline. This freedom actually makes your content better. It allows you to have experiences, read books, and engage in the world in a way that provides you with fresh perspectives. When you return to your next planning day, you are doing so with a full battery and a sharp mind. You are no longer a slave to the post button. The post button is a tool that serves your larger vision. As we conclude this deep dive masterclass, you now possess the entire blueprint. You have the hook strategies to stop the scroll, the visual mapping to keep them watching, the production protocols to film 30 videos in 4 hours, the editing systems to polish them in an afternoon, and the SEO architecture to ensure they are found by the right people for years to come. You have the monetization bridge to turn that attention into a sustainable business and the consistency framework to keep you going indefinitely. You have moved from reactive chaos to clinical, professional execution. The digital world of 2026 is ruthless to the unprepared, but it is incredibly rewarding to those who operate with a system. You are now part of the top 1% of creators who understand that social media is a volume game played with a quality mindset. Your next step is to put this into practice. Clear your calendar for next Tuesday. Turn off your notifications. Open your vault, and begin the process of taking control of your brand's future. The potential outcomes of this shift in your workflow are limited only by your willingness to stick to the system. However, even with a month of content planned, there is a new challenge emerging on the horizon. The 2026 algorithm is beginning to prioritize a new type of interaction that most creators are completely ignoring. It involves the integration of augmented reality and real-time data overlays that are changing the way users consume information. If you think you've mastered the game, you're only halfway there. We are about to begin a new series where we will explore the next evolution of the digital landscape. the 2027 algorithm shift, and the rise of immersive context. You have the foundation. Now it is time to build the future. Stay tuned because the rules are about to change again.